This is the 91st minute. Crystal Palace put in a resilient display to overcome Manchester United and secure a 1-0 victory, recording their third win in 5 Premier League visits to Old Trafford. I believe Roy Hodgson has now gone 5 consecutive. He's the first manager to go 5 consecutive matches unbeaten at Old Trafford. Rough one. Some say injuries, some say bad performance. Cultured, what do you say?
It's a bit of everything. I don't think we deserve to lose the game. It was a very good goal from Andersen that got Crystal Palace the win. I feel like Milo's trying to I can't tell if it's a cough or stifling a laugh already this early in the show.
It's a cough. It's a cough. I promise you. I was sick last week. I'm still tail ending that. The cough is with me. So yeah, I am not stifling a laugh. Although I may before the end of this segment.
That's fine. I think it's a bit of a mix of everything. Poor performances, substitutions are a bit strange. Injuries are taking their toll. There's just a lack of cohesion from the whole squad. It seems that at the back end of last year we seemed to get over that. Like at the end of last year, if you think about how we finished the season, winning the Carabao Cup, okay, it's not the trophy everyone wants to win, but we did win it, which was a good step for Ten Hag. Getting top 4, the team performing reasonably well, looking like they were settling into Ten Hag's tactics. It seems to have all just disappeared over the summer, and it's very, very strange to see that. I think, Cart's favourite player, Marcus Rashford, is being very greedy on the ball, and against Palace he looked like he was trying to pass it more, but in the wrong situations. A lot of the time he was looking to pass it down the line for overlapping or underlapping runs, and it's just a bit meh. And I don't want to blame the manager. I think some of it falls at his door, some of it falls at Erik Ten Hag's door or step, or whatever you want to call it. But it's the root. It does seem to be the whole club, and I don't think any manager is going to come in and do anything different while the club is in a state that it is. And that's not just the Glaziers, although I think the ownership is probably the biggest problem that needs to be dealt with. But I don't know. It's the whole Greenwood, Sancho, Anthony. Players, injuries, there's something just fundamentally wrong. Old Trafford falling apart. It's like the whole club is in a bit of a funk, and I don't know how you turn it around. And I don't want another manager to lose their job just because the whole club's in a funk. I don't think that's how it works. But the game itself was a bit, just a bit meh. There's not much else to say. Roy Hodgson clearly has Man United's number. The manager I picked to be my dad in our little short segment was Roy Hodgson, so my dad doing the job. But credit to him. It was a wonder strike from Andersen, a little flick off Diego Dalot. I don't think Onana was saving it anyway, so it's just a tough one. I think Højlund will come good. I do think Højlund will come good. I think Onana is a good goalkeeper. I think we are getting to the point where signing seems to be a little bit more hit than miss in my mind, but they do need a bit of time. But I'm just sort of rambling. So, Cart.
It's a tough one. This loss feels the most like a loss, where we're expected to win, even with the injury. Like, we have a lot of injuries. Anthony, Diallo, Maino, Malaysia, Martinez, Reguilon, Sancho, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka. Right, that's a lot of injuries. Backline, backup left. Both starting left backs. We signed a left back on loan. He got injured. Now we have to play Amrabat there. That's just not a good spot there. And now Martinez is apparently going to have to undergo operation, so he's got another couple months out. So it's just not a good situation on the injury front. But besides the injuries, I would have imagined this was the first game, even with the injuries, that we would have been expected to win. And to be fair, Crystal Palace had a lot of injuries as well. So for that reason, this one stings probably more than any loss this season so far, personally. Especially after that midweek performance where we played so nicely. It was just kind of genuinely entertaining. Obviously, a changed Crystal Palace side, etc., but still, it's nice to see some players tracking back, sprinting, etc. I don't want to sound like a broken record about Marcus Rashford. okay? But and now the masses are slowly seeing the light. Let's just put it that way, right? The people who have been like, oh, it's not Rashford's fault, it's the system, it's this, it's that, they're finally seeing the light, you know? And all I can say is, I told you so, okay? That's all I gotta say to those people. But it's really rough watching him play right now because, you know, we have no attacking cohesion. Last year, or at the beginning of this season, I think Milo asked me, do you expect to be challenged, because we finished third, you know, do you expect to be challenging City or for the title? And Arsenal, like I compared Arsenal and us as like the attacking mechanisms, you know, the attacking formulas are just there in Arsenal and they're there in City. They're not there at United, right? It's just hit and hope. Person on the line calls it hand grenade football, right? You just kind of throw it up there and then hope something happens. So until that changes, I think Extreme made a good point. You know, Ten Hag is trying to play possession football with a team that was made to be a counterattacking football, counterattacking football. And Rashford is a counterattacking player. You know, Bruno, you could argue, is counterattacking as well. But I thought that was an interesting point, and you get the sense that Ten Hag is trying to, you know, impose this system of possession, etc. But we just don't have the ball playing wingers. Obviously, with Anthony and Sancho, Greenwood, obviously issues. We don't have the ball playing wingers to play that football, and Rashford's unfortunately going to take a lot of the heat because he's our best player. We just put our faith in him, you know, a huge contract, quote unquote best player. I think Luke Shaw's a massive hole as well. He's in England's major tournaments, he's a key part of their chance creation. He's a decent footballer as well, but I don't know. It's rough. I mean, it's going to sound like excuses, but it is what it is, you know. It's Palace. We should have won. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, so the bottom line is we should have won. I think the injuries are having an effect because Amrabat has only played 20 minutes in central midfield next to Casemiro, and Casemiro looked infinitely better in those 20 minutes when Amrabat was in there with him, and now sort of shoehorning him into left back because of the injuries isn't helping. But I can't disagree with anything he said. I think he wants to play this possession pressing style, and we're not having the squad to do it. Sorry, Milo, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I guess a couple of questions I've got for you guys then would be, is it not incumbent on the manager to utilize what he does have? I mean, no one has every single player that they want every year. So, you know, if Rashford's strengths lie in X, surely the manager needs to build his game plan how to best utilize said skill X. You know what I mean? Like I just So to put a lot of your woes on Rashford. I'm not saying that you're saying everything is Rashford's fault, but to put a lot of your woes on one player just seems a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, by the way.
No, I know, and I mean, I'm not saying Cart is either. Obviously, Cart just has singled out Rashford because we've talked about Marcus a lot, and he has something. He shows glimpses of it in almost every game, but to be consistently good, he had that one sort of blue or purple spell or whatever last season, right? Where people are like, okay, Rashford's really, you know, he was your best player, yeah, or now he's finally arrived, even, you know, because I think he's always been a little bit inconsistent, and you know, he seems to show up against Arsenal every time we play, so that's annoying, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, so I guess my question is like, isn't it, I know you've got injuries and that is part, but is it not, you know, I think a lot of questions have to go to the manager at the moment, and two-part question really. You had mentioned the Glazers. Like, what is your issue with the Glazers with respect to the on-field results right now? What have they done to contribute, like to contribute to you being upset with them about the current on-field result?
I mean, I'm happy to take the Glazers. I'll let Carl talk about Rashford stuff. I'll do the Glazer stuff because I know that Cart isn't as anti-Glazer as I am.
Well,
but I work in a big corporation. We just discussed it. Like, I work for Rolls-Royce, huge corporation, global, and there is an element of whatever is happening at the top filters down through everybody. And if there is no accountability at the top for maintaining standards, then that can filter down, and the manager is there to try and enforce accountability. But if people look up and see, well, our stadium's falling apart, our change room isn't as good as it should be, there isn't the investment that all these other clubs are doing, the owners are taking out more money than they're putting in well, they haven't put any money ever. That's the problem, right? They've only ever taken it out commercially. It filters down. It's all, in Rolls-Royce we call it casting a shadow. It's nonsense, high performance wording, but that's what it is. If a leader casts a bad shadow, then the lower down the rungs you go, other people think they can get away with it, because that's what the leadership is showing you in the company, in the club. But that's what I believe it is. And I think there is an element around, if you look at how much money owners have put into the club, Man United come rock bottom of that list because the Glaziers have never put money in and taken it out.
But not in player purchases though.
Well, no, they have. There's money there, but it's not their money. It's the club's money, and that the club would have more money to invest in better training facilities, younger players, things like that. But
commercially, and you're talking more about the money into the club for that side, because they have money has been spent on players.
Even if I take the money, I totally agree with you. So I'll take the money away from it. I think the attitude they give off as owners filters through down to the CEO, filters through down into non-playing staff, filters down into playing staff, filters down, and the attitude from the Glazers is, we're just going to keep it running enough to make as much money. And that's not the attitude that any other Premier League club has, as far as I can see. I don't think there is another Premier League club that has that attitude from anyone above the manager that is just running it just to make enough money. They want it to make money and be successful. And that's my issue with it.
I can only speak from my, Arsenal experience and that, and there were definitely question marks about that with the Cronkies for a while, and I think they've answered those.
And it matched up with Arsenal's poorest run of form, potentially.
Yeah, I think still we were dealing with the end of an era and all that shit as well to contend with. But yes. Yeah,
so that's my take on the Glazers. Even if we take the money away from it, I do have the belief that a whole company or a whole football club or something like that runs how the owners are showing it should be run, and that filters down. And that's my main problem with the Glazers, even if you take the money aside, is their attitude to it.
So I see that, but then also, I guess my only counterpoint to that would be Ten Hag is very public about his standards. Yeah. Right. And the players are not meeting his standards. So again, that's why there has to be question marks about him at the moment.
I think he's going to get to the point soon enough where he's chucking in the youngsters. I mean, he's played Hannibal, and he was impressed by Hannibal. He's played Amid Diallo, he's played Palestri, who I thought was one of our better players before he got subbed off, and that's probably a fitness issue because he's not played first team football a lot. And I think that's going to happen more and more to make the senior players realise you're not safe. But we've spoken about this before, right? It's a tough one because you don't know what's happening in training. If the players are performing in training and Ten Hag thinks they're training well and it gets to the pitch and then they freeze, they're not doing the tactics he wants, then he needs to give them a bollocking. But I'll let Cart answer a bit now because I'm rambling again.
Yeah, Cart, you got to take the Rashford part and whatever else you want to chime in on there.
just a refresh about the manager adjusting the system to the players he has. That was what you were talking about, right?
In certain positions, yes.
So Rashford. So I think the system is getting Rashford in great positions. I think any talented left winger would be happy to play in the system, given the amount of touches and chances that Rashford's getting. There's a lot of people talking about he doesn't have enough help. Maybe the left back position. Luke Shaw and him had a bit of a connection. That's no longer there. That could be a bit of it, but there are some. If you look at his game, and I watched this game and the Tottenham game, Tottenham-Liverpool game this weekend. And every time Rashford gets the ball, and he tries to be direct, he is just blind to the rest of the field, it seems like. So I think he's gotten into this habit of, I have to do everything. I have to do, I have to create the goals. I have to do everything. And he's not using his teammates as much. There's sometimes when he makes runs down the wing, kind of Martinelli-esque. When he plays like that, he's very effective, right? When he does things where he's just an out-and-out winger, uses his pace, which is, superior to almost every other, that's his probably his biggest attribute, his pace. And he uses his pace to get by defenders and cross a ball in. That's when he's most effective. But he wants to cut inside and try to do these Ronaldo-esque, dribbles and shoot from outside the box when there's players running in and stuff like that. So I called the purple patch, anyways. But with Ten Hag, I think he is getting the most out of him. And and I think out of the back we're playing possession, but I think there is a counter, like on a change of possession in transition, we still want a counter attack. So with Højlund and Rashford and Casemiro trying to play long balls, Bruno trying to play long balls. I thought Mason Mount had a very good game, which is he's gonna he'll go a little unnoticed because he's playing in like a deeper midfield role. So he's going to be pretty crucial for us the next couple of months. But I think the system is set up for people like Rashford to get their touches, to play their, make their dribbles, make their passes. But his decision making is so poor right now, had we somehow won this game, it may not be as big of a topic, but it since we didn't, and Rashford, someone didn't save us somehow, or some random penalty, or some, something, it's a bigger topic.
I think it's a lot of it is got to be it's the consecutive home losses, right? I think that is something that, Old Trafford is seen as this place where that doesn't happen, right?
And it hadn't happened for 51 games.
This is our worst start since 1989 in the Prem. We've lost 4 of our first 7. And
interestingly, the last time you lost 2 consecutive home league games was Liverpool and Man City in October and November 2021, which was the last 2 home league games under Ole.
Yeah. I mean,
that's an interesting tidbit,
That's not as bad as losing to Palace, but on the topic of the Glazers,
I know.
I totally get what you're saying, Cultured, and I didn't really think about that, just the, how that attitude can trickle down. They've made a lot of money, right? So, the money we've spent on transfers is through all the commercial success. Ed Woodward for 10 years, he's not a football man, he's a businessman. And that's what, and unfortunately, and people are gonna, can disagree with me here, Rashford is a what's the word I'm looking for? Blockbuster type player, right? He's a commercial player, right? He's gonna attract a lot of attention, a lot of fanboys. Rashford's got a lot of fanboys, all the people he helped, which is great. I'm not taking anything away from that. All of his social work, it all adds up. It all adds up to make Rashford, and he's the number 10 for Manchester United, the great Manchester United. But maybe it's just gonna be like this for a while. It's just we're just gonna be a bit tepid, lukewarm for a while. Maybe in another 10 years we'll have something. Who knows?
Well, it's very interesting. So just while we're touching on the Glazers, the reason it's now come out from the numbers that the reason why this year is the year they've looked for investment and potentially selling the club is because it's going to be the first financial year that they can't withdraw dividends from the club because it's not making enough profit. So as owners, this is the first year in their tenure that they can't withdraw money as profit for them and solely them. So that's interesting.
I respect it though. What an investment. How much did they buy it for?
100%.
What
for
an
nothing.
Investment.
They bought it on debt, right? They bought it on the debt of the stadium. They didn't pay any of their money up front.
Like $6 billion or something. It's a value at That's
as a business investment. You've got to respect it.
Let's also. There are only 2 clubs in the Premier League probably where it isn't a business investment. Like every businessman I've ever met is in business to make money. Like this isn't like a unique thing. It's the unique thing is clubs where that doesn't really matter, like City and Newcastle, I guess, with the money that they have behind them. Like the norm is that the owners are in it to make some money, right? Because that is business 101. Like
the difference I think is that Man City and Newcastle aside, because obviously they are freaks of nature in terms of money in the Premier League, I think even the Cronkies have turned around and are now showing a bit more respect for the club and want it to do, and have noticed that it doing well makes them more money. The owner of like Brentford and Brighton are Brentford and Brighton fans. Well, I think Brentford's recently been sold actually, but Brighton is owned by a Brighton fan. Yes, he's a businessman and he wants to make money, but there is still that inherent passion that he wants that team to do well, whereas that's just not. The Glaziers,
exactly.
The only time they spend money, the only time we've heavily invested in money, generally in transfers, is when we've not reached the top 4. They invest to get us back into the top 4, get the Champions League money, get the profit, get the new Adidas contract, and then the investment doesn't match what we could do to move to the next level. And I don't want to bring it down to money because, like I said, I think it's deeper than money, and I believe in that cultural filtering down of attitude, and I believe that heavily. So,
and the fan-owned thing is, I agree, it is out there still, but it's so rare now. And it used to be, the majority of clubs were in that position where the people on the board were heavily involved with the club from childhood. They were childhood fans. Their dad, their granddad was involved, and it's gone away from that as more money has come in. It's attracted people with more money to want to buy it because they can see ways to make more money, and it's all money.
And
which is,
I also think fan-owned clubs. Let's money.
Exactly.
If a fan-owned club got all the way to the Premier League and it had, I don't know, 1,000 shareholders which were fans of that club, and they had been with it all the way since the beginning, and then Sheikh Jassim comes in and says, I'm going to give you $6 billion for that club. That's £600,000 for each of those fans. Like, as a normal person, are you going to turn that down? Like, I think that's why I think fan-owned clubs can't exist in the Premier League, because it just wouldn't get to that point. They would be so successful, someone would have bought it for a business profit and business investment. And I think it's hard to turn that sort of money down. But anyway.
What an investment, though. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
Great investment.
Ridiculous, isn't it? It cost them nothing.
All they have to do is just kind of shepherd it along through the years, right? And just let the Premier League
milk the cow.
It's smart.
Milk the cow.
It's very smart.
Which is ridiculous when you think about it, that they're not accepting $6 billion.
It must be some. I don't know a whole lot about business, but like, if your business is evaluated at $2 billion one year, you have certain financial flexibility, and then the next year, if it gets evaluated at $6 billion, you have more flexibility, right? Like you could take out loans against United, etc.
You can, yeah.
So
and
I mean,
the issue
maybe that's all that's happening.
Before Chelsea was sold to Todd Bowley, Man United was worth like 2.5 billion, but then the Chelsea club sale pushed all of sports enterprises up higher because everyone was like, oh, Chelsea were valued at 4 billion or something, but someone's paid 6.2 billion. And therefore, it's the market rate, right? That's what it all gets judged against. So
yeah.
But I think Todd Bowley even said there was an NFL team purchased or something before he bought Chelsea that pushed it up even slightly pushed it up higher. And anyway, Crystal Palace.
All
won,
I gotta
didn't they? That's what we're getting.
Crystal Palace won. Good strike. Give Ten Hag 4 more years, as I said last week. At least 4 more years. Give him time. Let him cook.
4 years is fine, and you said, okay, we could be in for some lukewarm, tepid times. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. But you have to understand, when other clubs have had lukewarm, tepid times, your fan base has been very vocal about it. So you have to expect the what will follow, the questions, the abuse, you have to expect it.
That's fine. Too bad I'm not 20 years old, If I was 20 years old, it might get to me, but now not so much.
2022 car would have been all over it.
You missed the boat, they missed me.
Would have been all over it. I'd even argue that early 2023 kart might have still been.
Kart playing eFootball would have raised to the.
If you put that wig on, watch what happens. like you put that wig on, and we know what will happen.
We know what we're getting ourselves in for. Yeah.
If you enjoyed the content, please do subscribe to the 91st Minute here on YouTube and use the links in the descriptions to follow us on all social media platforms.